afternoon, and thank you for joining us today for our webinar, Solve Your Talent Equation, Partner with the Manufacturing Institute. I'm Caitlin Salvaria, President of the International Corrugated Packaging Foundation. A quick housekeeping item before we begin. All participants are currently muted. We are going to save time for questions at the end, so feel free to type any questions that come up into the question box on your screen, and we'll make sure to get them answered. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, I'm delighted to introduce today's guest speaker, Rachel Scheffler. Rachel is the Associate Vice President and Head of Partnerships and Philanthropy for the Manufacturing Institute, the workforce development and education partner of the National Association of Manufacturers, the nation's largest industrial trade association. In her role, Rachel leads philanthropic engagement and partnership opportunities for the Institute and its goal of supporting the manufacturing workforce of today and growing the manufacturing workforce of tomorrow. The Institute does so through a variety of programs designed to excite, educate, and empower, with a particular focus in 4 key areas: women, veterans, youth, and lifelong learning. Today, Rachel's going to touch on some of those programs and how you can use the MI's help to solve your talent equation. Thanks for joining us today, Rachel.
Thank you, Caitlin. It's really nice to be here with everyone this afternoon. It is this afternoon for me as I sit in northeastern Pennsylvania, just north of Philadelphia. Happy to be here and represent the Manufacturing Institute. As Caitlin said, I had our partnerships and philanthropy work at the Institute. I kind of look at my role as mission control for all of the teams at the Institute. I serve as the person who works with many of you and partners all across the manufacturing industry who are interested in learning more about what we do. And as their 501c3 organization to the National Association of Manufacturers, it's our job to put on programs and provide solutions-oriented approaches to all of you that are in the manufacturing industry or connected to the manufacturing industry, really around a couple core issues that many of us continue and will probably continue to talk about for a number of years. And that is, how do we recruit, train, and retain our workforce, current workforce, and our workforce of the future. So Caitlin asked me to come on today and talk a little bit about what some of our programs are aiming to do, where are we going in the future with those programs, and if any of these strike your fancy and you're interested in learning more, you now have a point of contact at the MI, and I am always happy to help and give you some more information about how you can get involved. So with that, we're going to dive right in here. I'm going to turn my camera off so that we can go through this presentation. So when you look at the Manufacturing Institute, like Caitlin previewed for all of you, we are the National Association of Manufacturers. We are their workforce development and education affiliate. So some of you on this call may be members of the NAM. You might not be. The distinguishing difference between our organizations is that the NAM handles a lot of the policy, trade, advocacy, legal work that concerns many manufacturers' day-to-day business operations. We support the NAM and support the larger manufacturing industry in that we try to provide programs and solutions to all of your challenges that you have around recruitment, retention, and training. Okay, so we at the end of the day really want to make sure that young students from K to 12, early careers, women, veterans, all have opportunities to learn about manufacturing and understand that there are great careers waiting for them to be able to support families and have really great lives in manufacturing. So when we look at our core functions, when it comes down to what do we do at the Institute, there are 4 main ways that we try to serve your organizations. One of them is through what we call strategic workforce development. And so we look at ways in which we can help your workforce development strategies that you have in place, many of them that live within your HR functions, okay? Your HR functions of your organizations, your operational functions. You're looking for ways in which you can skill and upskill, whether it's incumbent workers, whether it's new workers that you're trying to fill your pipeline with. The second part is that we coordinate opportunities for innovative research. So we also know that there are topics that continue to come up in conversation, that you are looking for current trends or current statistics about what is happening in the manufacturing ecosystem. We partner with some of the leading research firms across the country to really dive into what are those topics that you as manufacturers care the most about. And we often look to put out studies throughout the year that elevate those issues, that if you who sit in a manufacturing role are looking for things to be able to validate your work, or you're trying to make cases for support to add on, let's say, resources, or why it's a good idea to invest in veteran and military hiring. We do that type of research throughout the year. Then we have the third one, which is around convening our industry leaders. So we know that a lot of you as well have agendas, right? You're doing groundbreaking work. You have innovative things that you're working on within your organizations that you want to talk about. You want to share that information with the broader manufacturing community to be able to say, hey, like, this is what worked for us, and we want to talk about the good work that we're doing. So we oftentimes find ways throughout the year to convene industry leaders to share that good work with the larger manufacturing community. And then the last part, which is what makes up a bulk of our work, is the programs that we implement. And we're going to talk a little bit about in the coming slides what those programs are, as they are the likely point of entry when you're thinking about how do I get involved with the Institute. So we look at a couple different things. There's 4 things that you'll see here on the screen, and we'll go into them in a little bit more detail in the coming slides. So we have Manufacturing Day, which is our pillar of our student engagement work. We have our Women Make and our Heroes Make America programs. Both are very different. Our Women Make America program focuses on how do we attract and retain women into the manufacturing industry. And then Heroes is really all about how we as an organization are connecting with 4 specific Army installations across the country. And we get to work with those transitioning service members 6 months before their duty ends, training them in certain skills and qualifications to make them manufacturing ready to be able to then enter your organizations and work and be added to your workforce. And then finally, the last program that's on here that you see indicated as FAME USA, which is what we would call a traditional apprenticeship model, where students will go to school 2 days a week. They will be employed by our employer partners in our FAME network 3 days a week. And then they look to become hired and part of the teams of those employer partners that they're working for. So we're going to talk a little bit about those in more detail in these coming slides, but that's a preview of what we're going to cover. So when we talk about our Women Make portfolio, I like to describe this as if you think of an umbrella, and the Women Make America is your bigger umbrella, okay? The part that's going to cover us all up when it's raining. And then I look at, there's 2 pillars that support our Women Make initiative. One of those pillars is really driven by our annual awards program that is held every April. And it is recognizing 130 women from across the country that are making significant contributions in the manufacturing ecosystem. So this year, our nomination process just wrapped up for 2025, and we had over 725 applications, right? People that submitted nominations on behalf of their organizations. In April, we will recognize the top 100 and then 30 emerging leaders. Okay, so that's your 30 under 30. All women. They convene in Washington, D.C. for a day and a half of a leadership development conference, and then it culminates with a really awesome awards program that happens the evening of the last Thursday of April. We do this because we find that it's crucially important to make sure that women are continually recognized for the contributions that they make in our manufacturing facilities, and that they are our largest champions when it comes to attracting other women to think about manufacturing as a career. So it's one of our flagship events. It is a very special evening, and the companies that have honorees that evening are very proud to attend and celebrate their honorees that are recognized that evening. So that is one as one part of our Women Make portfolio. When it comes to the second part, that is what we call our 35 by 30 campaign. And that is really all the other activities that we as an organization do throughout the year to promote manufacturing as a career pathway for women. So when we look at statistics now, all right, when you look at data, there is of the manufacturing community, of everyone who's working in manufacturing, women only make up 29% of that workforce. So we as an organization have committed to doing and implementing activities and programs and engagement touch points to try to get that number increased from 29 to 35% by the year 2030. Okay, so that is how we came up with the name of our 35 by 30 campaign. And support for that campaign allows us as an organization to really make sure that we are focusing on things, activities, engagement opportunities, places for our alumni to meet one another, mentorship activities, to really make sure that we are being additive to those retention practices and that we can help you as an industry really try to increase that number, and that we are moving that national statistic percentage up and up and up, in the next 5 years, as we soon are about to turn into calendar year 25. And then when we transition into veterans, in my experience and my time at the MI, I have talked to a lot of HR leaders who have all positively affirmed that many of your organizations have employee resource groups that are focused on a number of things. But one that I continue to hear over and over again is you have ERGs that are focused on veterans. Veteran hiring is a really important hiring strategy for our manufacturers. Our veterans and the veteran community comes with a lot of discipline. They have a lot of work experience. There is a lot of positive attributes that our men and women who have been veterans bring to our workforce. And they are a very hireable population, and it is really good for culture and for morale. So we have a program that is focused on 2 specific things that help our veteran population. So one of them is we are a designated skill bridge training organization where through 4 Army installations across the states of Kansas, Texas, North Carolina, and Georgia, we are on those Army installations training the transitioning servicemen and women who are 6 months before the end of their duty on several of the things that you see on the screen, okay, when it comes to manufacturing operations, logistics, Six Sigma, forklift, OSHA, many of the things that people would need to come in, okay, to a manufacturing operation position in any of your organizations. And they're bringing with them the tremendous amount of skill sets that they already have from being a member of the military. We really want to make sure that we are training up this group of individuals who are very eager to look for the next step in their career. And so by being a designated skill bridge training provider, we can take them 6 months before their transition period. They are paid by the military while they're transitioning, and yet they're learning how to acclimate into certain positions within manufacturing so that we can really be additive to the workforce. The benefit to our employer partners who support our Heroes Make America programs is that we are then able to connect you directly into certain events that we run throughout the year that our members of the military are attending, whether they are in-person career fairs, they are virtual career fairs. We do what are called Heroes Connect webinars, where we feature 1 or 2 companies where you get to come on and you get to talk about all of the great things of why someone would want to come work for your company. It's almost like a mini commercial, right? Like, why would you want to come work for us? Hey, we've got great benefits. We've got great pay. We've got a military ERG that is really welcoming to new hires. all of the things that you would want to talk about on why someone would want to work for you is what those Heroes Connect events do. And it's a really nice opportunity for us to provide you, our employer partners, with added layers of connections directly into these service members who are transitioning into jobs. And then additional resources, we provide tours at your facilities that are within 60 miles of these Army installations. You have access to our resume distribution list. We also are embarking in a program right now. We are working through manufacturing readiness badges so that we are able to help these transitioning service members with translating their Army skills and the things that they have learned while they are in the service into things that you as employers are listing as job qualifications for certain jobs. We know that they're not always word for word, and sometimes our servicemen, men and women, have a hard time understanding and looking at your job descriptions to say, well, I've got X, Y, and Z qualifications from being in the service. How do those translate to what company A might be asking for in a job description? So we are working on what is called a manufacturing readiness badge program, where these transitioning servicemen and women will have badges that you as an employer hire organization can look and say, okay, these badges that these individuals have translate to the skills that we're asking for on our job descriptions. Therefore, they are a really great candidate, and we should be looking at these individuals. So it's just another tool that we're trying to help our veterans make those transitions into manufacturing careers just a little bit easier. And then transitioning into our student engagement pillar. So our student engagement pillar is really an attempt for us to try to reach students at a young age, knowing that perceptions about manufacturing and the manufacturing industry, they're not like where some of our colleagues have grown up to know what manufacturing is. And frankly, we understand that a lot of our students in today's schools don't really have a good picture of what kind of careers sit under the manufacturing industry umbrella and how they could see themselves in those careers once they get themselves through high school. So one of the flagship pillars of our student engagement portfolio is through Manufacturing Day. I worked with Caitlin this year, and her organization was able to support Manufacturing Day, which is recognized on the first Friday of October of every year. And it's just a way for us to encourage our manufacturers to open your doors, invite students or invite community leaders or parents into the walls of your organizations and start to show them what you do, how you help make things that make things, and just get them excited about what is inside the walls of your organizations. We've also found too that inviting parents can be huge allies to the students because they are the ones that are encouraging them often to explore certain career paths or things after high school. And so we have found that it is more than just how do we influence our students, but how do we also make sure that our parents are armed up with the right information and that our teachers and our community leaders can be advocates for those kiddos that we really know will be our next, our future workforce. So Manufacturing Day is a great way for you as an organization to support our student engagement initiatives. Whether or not you're able to bring students into the doors, we have resources that are on that website for you. How to coordinate a successful event or an engagement point with students in your community. There's marketing toolkits and ways in which you can connect with your local schools. So all of those are on our MFG Day website and are really there for you to use at your leisure. Our message to you is just to make sure that you are thinking about kids, and even though they're not an immediate hire and they're not quickly an immediate ROI on investment, we do look at them as the long game, and they are definitely the workforce of our future. And then the last thing that I will mention for you is more of our apprenticeship type model. program, which many of you may have heard of this before, but it's called FAME USA. FAME USA was started by our partners at Toyota a long time ago. And as FAME started to scale and grow bigger and bigger, Toyota thankfully gifted that program over to the MI and said, hey, Manufacturing Institute, would you guys be interested in taking this over and really scaling the program so that we can, obviously reach more students across the country in this apprenticeship type model. We have done that, and we are now, we have presence of what we call chapters within FAME. We have 39 chapters across 14 states in the United States. And FAME is really focused on developing what we call advanced maintenance technicians. It's a very specific role within our manufacturing organizations, and it allows students to be able to be sponsored by an employer partner, and they are earning an associate's degree while they are working at the same time. Okay, so the FAME model works best when there is multiple employers who are maybe like aggregated around a certain area or a city. Everyone is saying the same thing again, like I mentioned at the top of this webinar, of how do we get more people into our workforce pipeline? The FAME chapters are centered around a hub and education partner that will deliver some of the training that they need to become AMTs. And then the community partners in the employers are joining a chapter and saying, hey, we all want to take some students in on this program. We're all going to join together. We're going to be part of a chapter. We are going to invest in the future training and the future success of these students. And we will start to produce AMTs that can be very helpful and frankly, very needed in our manufacturing facilities across the United States. I would say for purposes of this call, FAME is a little bit of a longer investment in terms of it's not more of like a plug and a play, easy, you turn it on and you get access to our veterans or you get access to women. This is really most successful when you have a group of employer partners who have really decided to band together and say, hey, we are doing this out of the good of the manufacturing industry. Yes, we all need talent, but we need to be very thoughtful about where we are pulling talent from. And we also need to invest in the training and the education of these young students who are interested in joining the manufacturing industry as a career. And then finally, I told Caitlin, I think that it would be really helpful for me to just give you a couple examples here of some of our current partners and how they use and how they plug into our programs that help them with their hiring and their recruitment and their retention. So one of them I wanted to highlight, which I know is a member organization here of ICPF, Smurfit Westrock, now Smurfit Westrock. They used to be Westrock before they changed their name a few months ago. They started with us as a partner many years ago and invested into one of our programs, and it was Heroes, simply out of the need to say, hey, how do we tap into talent who is more ready and willing to enter the manufacturing workforce? And so Smurfit Westrock invested in Heroes. They saw great success by engaging in the program, in the events, and were able to make direct correlations to hires that came through the Heroes program and then came to work directly for Smurfit Westrock. So that is a program where you're able to see, a direct correlation to ROI into a program. After they were with us participating in Heroes for a number of years, they learned more and more about what we do as an organization and asked questions about how do we get involved in Women Make and how do we get involved in FAME. And because they have locations at many plants across the United States, something like FAME made a lot of sense to them because they were able to join other employer partners in certain cities to say, hey, we want to be a part of this program. We want to get in on this, and we need AMTs in our facilities. So they asked questions about FAME, they learned about FAME, and eventually were able to say to their leadership teams and their operations teams, hey, we need you to learn more about FAME. And so it's by word of mouth, right? And talking and learning more about how some of these things can help you solve your problems is really how Smurfit Westrock plugged in and started to expand into 3 different programs that we do at the MI. And then last year, I chatted with Caitlin, and ICPF reached out and said, "Hey, we believe in educating the next generation of students, and how do we get involved in Manufacturing Day?" And we're able to come on and be a supporter and a friend of Manufacturing Day for us in 2024, which ultimately helps us build out our student engagement resources that we make free and available to our manufacturers. So we appreciate ICPF's foundation there and our foundation support there for us. And certainly, again, by word of mouth and logo recognition, peers start to see other peers investing in things and start to ask questions. And that's how word of mouth gets out, right? By all of us talking about, what are you doing? What are you doing in the space? Who are you working with? And how are they helping you solve some problems? So those are just a couple examples of ones that I thought would be really relevant for folks that join this call today. And I'm happy to certainly address any questions that you may have about what is a lot of information that I know I shared in 30 minutes of time, but certainly open up the floor for anyone to have questions in the chat, or you want to come off mute, I can take questions.
Thank you so much. That was such a great overview. And I do feel, I've participated in the MI's Workforce Summit the past 2 years, and you get a chance to meet people all over the country who are using their programs and finding success in their programs and talking about, additional things that have worked and have not worked at their plants. So really, once you get involved in this community, it opens the door to many things that you didn't realize existed before that can potentially help you solve your talent pipeline issues. So at this time, like Rachel said, if you want to type any questions that you have into the chat box, or if you want to come off of mute, we're happy to have her spend a few minutes answering questions that come up.
And while people are thinking about, if you have any questions, that's a good point, Caitlin. I didn't cover the one slide that you all might go back and look at is I put up there that there's a solutions center, and you're probably thinking, what is Rachel talking about with solutions center there? Our Workforce Summit falls into that umbrella of the Solutions Center, and it is an annual convening that our team does every October. This coming October, so that will be October of 25, we're going to be in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's October 20th through 22nd. It is our way as a team to convene anybody who's interested in manufacturing, whether you work in it, whether you're an education partner to manufacturing, you might be a vendor who provides services to the manufacturing industry, okay? We bring you all together for 2 half days and a full day of programming. We bring in experts and subject matter experts just to talk again about solutions, really around that recruitment, retention, and training. And so again, we try to elevate what are other people doing, what can we offer to you as a team. There's great networking, just information sharing. And so we just came off of our 3rd annual conference. We had, I think, the highest attendance out of our 3 years, which is great for us as a team to be able to talk about. But we really pride ourselves on the ability to be able to share knowledge that we know and that we learn and that we have access to you, so that you can go back to your home organizations and hopefully something resonated with you and that you're able to implement something new or validate something that you've been talking about within your organizations to be important to the success of what you're doing.
Rachel, it looks like the first question we have is, if we are interested in getting more involved with one of these programs, what would you recommend as a first step?
Sure. Just reach out to me. I can drop my email in the chat here. I would be the first person that you would want to reach out to. And what I would do with you, as we would meet, is I would just want to learn more about what are some of your pain points, right? Because not everybody's pain points are the same, right? You might have some things that are elevating over others. You might have some goals that have come down from your leadership teams on, hey, we'd like to increase the number of women in our Idaho facility. I mean, I'm just making this up. I'll chat with you one-on-one about that first and kind of figure out where you're sitting. And from there, we can talk about if there's something that is relevant that we do for you, or if I have some other resources I can connect you with, I certainly will.
I haven't seen any other questions come in. So again, we're going to make a recording of this webinar available on our website, and you have information in the chat, and then Rachel also had on that last slide her contact information, so you can get in touch with her. And I just want to end by, again, thanking you very much for your time. You guys are doing so many great things at the MI, and it's great that we're able to get that in front of our industry partners and hopefully connect you to help everyone with these efforts.
Thank you. Thanks for the invitation, and thanks everybody who took time to join this afternoon.